You!
You cannot be serious!
So these are some of the typical reactions that you saw for this particular episode of Spy Family, episode 8, which came out a couple of days ago. And I will leave a link to all of these fine reactors so that if you wanted to see in its entirety how they reacted, then I would suggest that you go take a look at them. But in any case, as expressive as they were, this was the typical reaction to a certain part of episode 8. And did these reactors indicate that they disliked the episode? No, they enjoyed the episode quite a bit. In fact, they enjoyed it so much that when the cliffhanger came out, well, that was their reaction. And it's interesting because, of course, for the manga, episode 8 corresponds to chapters 11 and 12. And as a manga reader, it is amusing because chapter 12 ended with the exact same cliffhanger, and their reactions gave a deja vu to how we reacted when we were hit by the cliffhanger in chapter 12. But episode 8 was very well done, and I have forgotten, I thought that this was going to be the rip-roaring comedy part of this particular story, but that comes later in chapters 13 and a little bit in 14. And of course, episode 8 was quite hilarious, but it starts off in a very dark manner, because we are introduced to Yuri, and we finally find out who Yuri is beyond Yor's brother. And what I really like about this particular episode, and the corresponding chapters, is just how well Tatsuya Endo can leverage the mood of the specific story. Once again, this is a very multifaceted story, and often when you see cute young characters such as Anya in a specific anime, the overall theme of the story ends up being very, very cute. However, Tatsuya Endo understands that this is very much an espionage sort of story, and for that particular part, he does not pull punches, and he brings out the story as we expect. And yet, when it comes to the hilarious parts, he takes no backseat to any of the comedic animes that are out there. And when it comes to the wholesome part, it is extremely sentimental. And so the way Tatsuya Endo juggles all of these types of moods and themes is really well done. And in fact, he will not only juggle them well, he will be able to leverage one mood against the other. And he is a master at satirical contrast. In the beginning, we find out that, yes, Yuri is an extremely terrifying individual because he is a member of Astana's secret police. And because of that, he is involved in some seriously dark black operations. However, then when he contrasts that with the hilarious nature of what comes up later, the comedy becomes extremely amplified because we know how terrifying this character is, and yet he becomes a complete potato in front of Yor. And so not only do we get an introduction to the serious nature of Yuri, we also get an introduction to the crazy, wacky, comedic nature of Yuri. And when you combine the two, the contrast between them becomes even more hilarious. And what was beautiful in this anime is the way they portrayed the mood of this particular episode. The interrogation part reminded you very much of the old 70s Cold War sort of spy stories. Some examples are stories like The Day of the Jackal or Marathon Man.
Tell us, Victor.
And this particular part really emphasized that sort of tone to bring the story really into the proper perspective. But of course, this is not a 1970 espionage story, at least not by itself. It is also the wacky spy family story. And so when that is combined with what you see in the second part of the story, it becomes really good. Because of course we find out in the first part, Yuri is after Twilight. He does not know who Twilight is, but he has made it a vendetta to make sure that he will catch this terrorist called Twilight. And that does show you what sort of person he is. Yuri is an extreme loyalist. He wants to protect the people of Astania against terrorists, and he wants to protect his sister. And it becomes such an obsession that the level of protection that he expresses is extremely terrifying. But once again, when we then compare it to the second part and his crazy antics and the level we find out in terms of how much he cares for his sister, it becomes extremely hilarious. And of course, the story also opens up a wonderful cat and mouse duel between Lloyd and Yuri. And all this happens during this insane situation that goes on during dinner. And so episode 8, or I should say chapters 11 and 12 of the manga were really, really well written. It's a very well set up story that combines and takes advantage of all aspects of the story. But my gosh, the cliffhanger for this one probably upset more people than any of the cliffhangers that came up previously. And this really shows just what part of the story people really get into. Despite this being an extremely cat and mouse spy story, the biggest reaction comes from, will Lloyd actually kiss Yor? And of course, with the cliffhanger, the animators and the mangaka said, you're gonna have to wait. So yeah, this was very well done. And I did like the voice actor for Yuri. His name is Ono Kensho, and he's a very popular voice actor, a very sought after one in Japan. He has voiced prominent lead roles in many animes as well as film. Some of the most notable ones are the main character Kuroko Tetsuya in Kuroko no Basket, as well as Giorno Giovanna, the main character in the 5th season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And finally, he is the Japanese voice actor for Harry Potter in the entire Harry Potter movie series. And so this gentleman has done a tremendous amount of very important lead roles. And he does portray Yuri very well, because this voice actor seems to be able to flip from the extremely terrifying side that Yuri has to that completely potato side that he can become. And so the lineup of voice actors for Spy Family continues to be very, very good. And of course, it'll be interesting to see how this cliffhanger will be resolved. Of course, since I've read the manga, I'm not as upset as many of the reactors of the anime are, because most of my venting happened many months ago. But I can relate to their feelings because I did have the same sort of feelings when I ran into the end of chapter 12. But episode 9 will be very hilarious. It's unfortunate that some of the escalation that happens in episode 8 gets cut off at the cliffhanger, and so you kind of lose a little bit of that impact. But fear not, episode 9 is hilarious based upon chapter 13, and it is also very thoughtful and wholesome based upon chapter 14, which episode 9 will cover both chapters. And so I will be looking forward to episode 9, and when it comes out, I'll bring out another video, and I hope you join me at that time. But this is the episode 8 discussion for Spy Family, the anime. And if you have any comments, please post it in the comment section below. Thank you very much for listening, and until the next episode, happy anime watching, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.
8分の2